Hey, good evening or afternoon, actually, Facebook viewers. This is the third in a series of county commissioner interviews that we're doing, and I really appreciate Mike Schiefer being here today to talk about his interest in county commissioner. And I think as we know, the commissioner's office has um, always been important, but is increasingly important in the county. Um, because of the way the city and the commissioner's office need to work together in a couple program areas. So really want to thank Mike for being here and just start off with a quick question about um, your interest in commissioner and some of your background that makes you qualified and the right candidate for the upcoming primary. So fire away.
Well, it starts out the fact that I'm a lifetime resident of Crawford County, and I've seen commissioners come and seen commissioners go. Some good, some bad.
Hey, I won't take that personal.
I hope not. But the thing is, I've always found that if you want something done right, a lot of times you got to do it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So I look at some of the things that are happening in the commissioner's office, and I'm sitting there going, I think I've got some better ideas.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing that people kind of fall away from on a commissioner job is the fact they forget that they're representing the people. And it doesn't matter whether they live in the northeast corner, the southwest corner.
Mm-hmm.
That's irrelevant.
Right.
Irrelevant.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Because, we're all members of Crawford County.
Right.
So the best thing we can do is we can forget the differences and work together.
Uh-huh.
Unity is always better.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I like to think of is the fact that, there's a lot of questions going to be faced in the Crawford County in the next 10, 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to start now with getting people involved with coming up with the solutions.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm a fairly intelligent person,
Mm-hmm.
and Tom, you are as well, but we both know that we don't have all the answers. A lot of times, somebody else out there does.
Sure.
So instead of having people afraid to speak up and say something, why they kind of they're afraid of being ridiculed or they're made fun of or whatever. And no, that's exactly what we don't want.
Right.
We want the people involved. We want them to do help do a good job for everybody.
Right.
The reason why also I like meeting people, I like putting forth Crawford County. Now,
Right.
since I live closer to Bucyrus than I do Gallion, I've been more involved with Bucyrus projects.
Uh-huh.
I've I was one of the members that initialized the car show over there.
Right.
3 years ago, as people know, why the car club that had it sent out letters saying, "Hey, we're done with the car club. Car show because we can't."
Mm-hmm.
Well, what ended up happening was I just finally, after working on my car for 7, 8 years, I finally got it. I know this isn't happening.
Yes.
So we got together with a bunch of people. We kept it going, and I think it's going to start growing again. We survived last year when we had a lot of rain,
Yeah.
but we still did well. So
Yeah.
that's something I'm proud of.
Yeah, that is, you think of things that are unifying, and I'm have limited mechanical aptitude, but it strikes me how the car shows bring people not only from all over the county but kind of all over the area, and there's you all have something in common.
Mm-hmm.
But that is a unifying factor in the county. Those kind of shows, you see them. It's become a key part of Pickle Run, and I know in talking to some Gallion area people who are helpful in getting that car show going.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it's the love of the activity, but it does bring folks together. Yeah,
And we're keeping a part of history alive.
yeah, that's true too. That's true
I mean,
too.
you look at the cars. I mean, mine would be a '66.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think of the age of that car and it's still up and running, these cars are mechanical marvels for their age.
Yeah.
So we're actually keeping a part of history alive, and we're getting more and more people, and even young kids and stuff, to be interested in it.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like you said, we're bringing the community together, and I think that's a great thing. I do really think that it's an important part of Crawford County now.
Sure.
As we know, the fair this year wasn't as spectacular as it has been in the past.
That's an uphill push anymore.
It is.
Keeping the county fairs going, but yeah.
And so we still need something as a unifying force. So if we don't have it with, say, the county fair, or we don't have it with like the Bratwurst Festival like we used to,
Right.
then the car show is taken over, and that's going to be a unifying factor.
Yeah, I think it's a neat thing. So this is what I think from a galleon perspective, that I think is necessary to get things more unified. I don't think that non-galleon, or I don't want to speak for Crestline exactly, but you might find some Crestliners who would agree with this. Non-Bucyrus people don't understand where galleon's coming from, and oftentimes when it comes to county-wide governmental programs, any other sort of county-wide thing, there's a perception over here that if we do it the way the Bucyrus area wants, then that's countywide. And that may be a little bit of a little sister, little brother kind of chip on the shoulder. The question I would get to, though, long premise, the question is, like, how have you, and what are you doing to get to know what causes, what makes galleon tick, what causes galleonites to either be attracted to something on a countywide basis or shy away from it. So how do you get to know galleon issues, galleon people? It's kind of hard in a primary that really is essentially in the middle of the winter. So
Well, and you're really correct. I mean, one of the problems that I foresee is the fact that, yeah, being from Bucyrus, I know more about what goes on in Bucyrus. But that's going to have to change. I'm going to have to start spending more time in Galleon. I'll be honest with you, I love your shops uptown. And one of the best things I ever saw, and like I said, from a perspective of, kind of the history buff in me, was when you had the flags up there showing the military service people.
Yeah.
I thought that was 1,000% spot on.
that's pretty cool, isn't it? I like that too
I
a lot,
I
Mike.
think
Yeah.
I did. I mean, I was driving a dump truck over here. I helped put the pavement in where we had the water main break down on Main Street.
Yeah.
And all I could do was just kind of drive by and on with my mouth open, because you could tell by the uniforms and everything else. You could kind of guess what war they were in, or Korea, Vietnam, or whatever. And I thought that was fantastic.
Yeah, it is neat. Yeah.
And as far as I think Galleon, I know your sports center, you're trying to take and get that rolling.
Right.
And I'd like to see other things that we can take and do to combine from Bucyrus, bringing over some of our over here,
Right.
and vice versa. I mean, I know Galleon car people come over.
Oh, for sure.
And I'd love to see, people go over here for your sports center, and I'm sure that they're going to. If you get things rolling the way you want, and we advertise, that should be not exactly part of the commissioner's job exactly, but to put forth the area of what's going on.
Right.
I mean, if New Orshing, for example, used to have the Hatchery Festival. Now that's,
Sure, yeah.
they pretty well died out because people were running and just got tired. But then they got St. Bernard's Festival up there.
Sure.
And, it would be nice if the commissioners, and I mean, it's going to take time, but
Right.
I think it would be wonderful if the commissioners got on local radio and got on, like Crawford County Now and the rest of them, and just promoted this stuff so everybody knew about it. I mean, yeah, you say, well, everybody should know about it. Well, people driving back and forth to Columbus all the time. No, they don't.
It's true. The sports complex, Free Center. The original idea has to do with Crawford County youth that are involved in organized sports. At the elementary level, there just is a limited amount of court time, gym time. Quick story. I was at a middle school basketball game, and it was approaching 8 o'clock, and I saw a friend of mine come in, a dad, and it became apparent that he was getting ready to do basketball practice. So I saw him a couple days later. I said, "Well, you?" Said, "Yeah, that's when the sixth graders practice twice a week at 8 p.m."
Mm-hmm.
And so, without getting off your candidacy and on that, that is where I think some of the misunderstanding about the center is that it would be. It's all about travel and tourism. It's all about travel sports. It's all about that part. Really, the origin was about trying to improve opportunities for Crawford County kids. So, yeah, we're still enthusiastic about it. I think we'll see with after November what we have in terms of commissioner support for that project specifically, but kind of generally. In what ways are the county commissioners going to be supportive of economic development? So without spending time pushing the Free Center with this conversation, like what do you see as the role of the commissioner's office in supporting, directing? What would you describe as their role in the ongoing development of the county?
Well, what I foresee.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that the county commissioners need to take and meet regularly with the mayor's offices, Bucyrus, Crestline,
Mm-hmm.
Washington, Gallion.
It's a great idea.
I mean, we need to meet, and hey, I mean, if we just go out and have coffee once a week or once every 2-3 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
and that way we have a better feel. I mean, Jeff over in Bucyrus, and you here, Tom, and Gallion, you guys are good representatives. I just met Linda from over there and Crestline.
She's way enthusiastic.
You guys are really the best at telling us what's going on.
Right.
And so being informed then gives us a leg up on what we can do.
Yeah.
To help.
Yep.
And I mean, I one thing I hate when somebody comes into a situation and they almost take it over because they want to do this, they want to do that, they want to do. Well, no. The people that started and conceived it are the ones that should be running it.
Sure.
And that being the case, then when they want help, then that's when we should jump in. But if you don't want help, then leave the people the heck alone. The people that started it, they're the ones that best qualified to take and run it.
Right.
But your commissioners can help educate.
Mm-hmm.
We can also take and help get funding. And we can just go ahead and make sure that everybody knows that, hey, this is Crawford County. This isn't Gallion, this isn't Bucyrus, this is Crawford County.
Right.
And by doing that, we can play on each other's strengths. Like, Gallion and Bucyrus have kind of a different mindset of each other.
Right.
But what I will say is there's a lot of things in Gallion, like the sports center, that we'd have never thought of in Bucyrus. We have the car show.
Right.
So why not combine our strengths rather than keep complaining about our weaknesses?
Yeah, what I was, as you were saying that, I was thinking about and it's been 25, 30 years they've been reading a similar thing. When the beginning of a high school competition, they read this, we're friendly rivals, and they talk about good sportsmanship. That friendly rivals, to me, is my way of describing the relationship. And rivalries are good because they make all involved in it better. When they warp and they take on a life of their own, win at all costs, that of course is
wrong.
Goes too far. But you're right on about what you were saying about the value in having commissioners. I know Mayor Pitt in Crestline is talking about having mayors get together regularly. And we could have a coffee, but we could meet a lot of weeks for maybe a couple of years, identifying specific topics. So we don't have to stargaze. There are specific things that could be improved, and in particular, one that your idea really helps with is the distribution of block grant funds. The often talked about grants that one can get. Well, in the past few years, just since I've been mayor, it was really under Kasich administration, not to poke a finger in his eye, but that has all been rolled into the commissioner's office. So only thing I'll say critical about them, I don't even know, be kind of good to know what their allocation of those dollars went for in this last round, because I didn't see it in the paper. I imagine it's in their journal, but the effort to let people know where those dollars were going, I think that's something that is that's good to hear.
That should be the responsibility of the commissioners.
Yeah, a lot of people know.
Right, and we need to educate people too.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of good things going on out
Right.
there, and you know, we just need to be able to work together.
Right.
And I mean, we have a group that does, like I said, I'm just going to say the car show again.
Yeah.
But actually, I know you'd have a group with your, sports center. There has to be ways we can work together to take and kind of help each other out.
Right.
I'm trying to think of the right word. Actually, just put it together. And I think the commissioners, for a long time, all they've worried about is the buildings, the budget, the roads.
Right.
Well, that's fine. That's their primary concern. However, they don't take up all their time doing that.
Right.
And I think that one of the things that we see now too, I mean, right now, two of the biggest problems we have is, first off, the ambulance service.
Yes.
Which, what I will say is the fact that from everything I hear, Galleon and Polk Township have got it pretty well nailed about how to do it.
I'd agree with that, but that
But-
is a great idea. He's taking over here. He's taking control of the interview. That was where we're going to go next. So yeah, ambulance service.
Ambulance is one.
Yeah.
What we should do, I don't have all the figures in front of me, and I have not made it to one of the ambulance board meetings yet. But I can tell you that I have a feeling I'm going to be going to a lot of meetings until I get up to speed.
Right.
But I think that we take the ambulance services and we figure out the most clear, crisp, and concise way of doing it. Now, once that's done, then what we have to do, though, is we have to take and make the people understand. One of the things that leaves me a little bit of cold, you read three lines of print,
Yeah.
and that's the entire thing. Everybody sits there going, huh?
Yep.
What'd they say? I don't know. You know what they said? No.
Right.
Well, what we need to do is we need to take and educate people. But we don't want to be an overbearing, shove it down their throats.
Yeah.
What we want to do is take and let them have the information that they need to make an informed decision. This country was built on that.
Right.
And we've gotten away from it because, let's face facts. It started kind of the Second World War because the country was in over their heads. We were losing to the Germany
Yeah.
and Japanese. So they had to do something. So a lot of times the men were overseas and the women were trying to raise families. They were trying to take and build bombers. So they had to leave somebody else take and do the hard work of running the governments.
Right.
Well, it never flowed back. And that's what we do need. We need the people to take an interest. Now, the other week, they had a meeting up at City Hall, and I know Gallion's already done it.
Right.
Taking care of the change in the city ordinances so
Right.
they go along with the state.
law.
Right. So that was something they were just working on that night. And the people, there's a lot of people that are worried about Second Amendment rights. I mean,
Sure.
every time you hear it, and whether it be Mr. Governor DeWine's, Strong Ohio program or whatever, the people are worried because the fact is they truly do not trust the government.
Sure.
At times. Well, okay. The thing that I see coming is not they're going to take and ban guns or they're going to pull guns, because actually they did a poll here, I don't know, a couple months ago,
Right.
and they said actually, technically, for everybody that lives in the United States, if you figure out the number of firearms out there, each person has 2 firearms.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Okay. Well, so what we've got is a situation where they will, in time, the people that are anti-gun, the people that are really anti-government, actually, when you come right down
Right.
to it, what they're going to do is they're waiting until the generations die off. The ones that know what freedom's about, know what gun ownership's about, knowing how to hunt, know how to fish, how to protect themselves. And as we go, video games have replaced going out there going fishing with Dad. Video games has gone out to replace going squirrel hunting with Dad or Grandpa.
Right.
So all of a sudden, through attrition, people that want to keep the Second Amendment alive are going to die off.
Right.
So what we need to do is we need to get kids back interested And
Sure.
hunting, fishing, firearms, safe gun handling. I mean, ODNR's got a wonderful, their hunter education program. I used to teach that for a while.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Right.
In fact, your son went through it.
Yeah, I think our school, listen to me, our community, I think we're pretty solid on those traditional values, if you will, and this is what I've seen since I've been in this position as a local government position, and I think it's something that I would sort of ask you to consider, and something that could come about from having local officials discuss various problems or issues from each one of their perspectives. And it's this: the last 8 years, and the state government has attacked local government in a couple key ways. One is that they've cut funding of traditional funding,
right,
and piled up a multi-billion-dollar surplus, but seem to have no interest in addressing the reallocation of what's called the local government fund. So that's one thing. And one example of what they've done, but things like municipal income tax collection. Big issue here is RETA. What I have to say is RETA, and you can make jokes about, no, it's not any. And so a year ago, the legislature is really big on making it more difficult for municipalities to collect their own income tax. And that's a trend. I guess what I'm trying to say is, it's your idea, is to get the local officials together to come up with ways to address our state representatives, so that they understand and that there is some progress. I'm not dissatisfied over the past year with the new, not so new administration, but I really haven't seen much of a rollback in the DeWine administration as it relates to the encroachment that DeWine and the legislators of that era presided over. So I guess, long speech, is that I like your idea of getting people together so we can talk about things that are happening, and that relationship between state government and local government, things that we can do to allow us to provide better services to our people, not get our power back. The idea of organizing to try to express where some of these state government encroachments have taken place, that's a great idea. Whether it is the Second Amendment thing recently that, but there's an attempt to make local government be increasingly servile, my opinion. Now, I hang a question on this. Servile to state government. It's the same darn thing that I think some of us see between state and federal government. I mean, state rights, it's almost a dirty word to use them. So local government having its authority and jurisdiction and traditional funding source. So I guess the question is, do you see that as the encroachment of state government into our domain, meaning local government domain, as an issue, or something that we could talk about as a group and then take proposals to the legislators?
Well, what I have seen, and I've heard township trustees talk about it too.
Right.
Their budgets are getting cut and cut and cut.
Yeah,
State
they are.
and the cities and the counties. And what that was all about was Mr. Kasich wanted to take and have a big splash of how much money he saved Ohio.
Sure.
And he had all these figures. Trouble with it was, all he did was take the balanced take the budget and just shift it all to the cities and counties, so that he looked like he was a knight in white, shining armor.
Right.
And it was bull.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I think that
Everybody knew it.
The tension that exists in county government between the townships and county government over funding for the health department been a pushy, shovey issue.
It has.
And the ambulance
Hmm.
The issue over ambulance, if traditional state funding to local governments hadn't been cut, I don't think there would be as much pressure to have to do something on this ambulance. So, you know, I agree with you. Some of the financial problems that local jurisdictions in Crawford County have were created by the squeeze that we received from Columbus.
Right, to make themselves look good for the next election.
Yeah.
But then now we're into a problem of the fact that we have all the way across the board.
Mm-hmm.
Just about every agency is calling for this. They need money. All right. Well, now we only have two ways to get it.
Mm-hmm.
The one way is to tax people, more taxes.
Right.
Well, when you do that, you've already got people out there right now that are trying to figure out whether to take and put heat in their house or dog food on the table to eat.
Right. Right.
I mean, they're on fixed incomes,
Yeah.
they're on very low fixed incomes, okay? Or, the other thing that we can do is we can dig our feet in. Now, granted, there is always a little bit of wastage that we can look into and try to, and commissioners need to do it for the county employees. You guys, you know, need to do it on the city, right? I'm not saying there's gonna be any big cash windfall that somebody's been hiding money in a burlap bag back there in a trash can or nothing. What I'm saying is the fact that'll help a little bit. But what we need to do is we need to get more and better businesses in Crawford County. And I'm not talking about the kind of business that when a person works there, he actually makes more money on welfare and gets his insurance and this kind of stuff. So he gets it more for being not working than by going to work.
Yeah.
That's what we need to stop. I mean, when you have people that make a choice about their I won't say honor. The word I'm looking for is integrity.
Yeah.
When they're having to throw their integrity away to make ends meet because of what's going on, then we have a problem.
Yeah.
You, me, everybody else, we have a problem, and we've got to take and do something with it. Now, as far as businesses, I think what I'd love to see is I'd love to see a couple people form a committee, and we go to these, go to trade shows, like heavy equipment trade show or someplace else.
Right.
Let's start putting forth. Let's sell Crawford County.
Right.
Let's keep our kids here. Let's keep the good kids here. Okay. I mean, okay, they go to Columbus. More money that they run into. More crime.
Yeah.
More pollution. Schools not as safe.
Sure.
And all the things that's going on that we have here, but we don't take and emphasize that.
Right.
And what they look at first is money. Oh wow, I'll make $10,000 more a year living down in Columbus, until they figure out what the taxes are, what it costs them to drive, having their car stolen at least once, having a key, whatever the stuff that goes along with it. I've done it both ways, and I can tell you that I would never move to Columbus.
Right.
Not that the people are bad down there or anything else,
Right.
but the people up here are a whole lot better.
Yeah, I would agree.
I
with
mean,
that.
as 100%, they're a whole lot better. So what we need to do is take and make sure that we put that out there.
So you would be in favor of maintaining or increasing support for development efforts?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
Oh, absolutely.
I think the cities play an important role too.
Absolutely.
In the funding, but the funding of the partnership. This is kind of funny, there's been some discussion about whether the government's taxpayer should fund that. And my take on that is if anything, we don't put enough money in.
We don't put enough effort into it either.
Right, enough effort translated into the number of hours that are dedicated to that. And yeah, I think we have to promote ourselves.
Well, nobody else is going to do it for us, that's for sure.
What about, this is a different topic a little bit, but we'll get to it and then we'll see where we are on time and whatnot. The issue of drug abuse and how it affects the workers or the potential workers. Do you see that, like, is Crawford County's problem and the response to it unique, or is it kind of like it is in many towns across the country? How do you respond to that?
I have personal knowledge about that, actually, and so what I'll say is this. The first thing that we have to remember is the fact that no kid woke up on Saturday morning and said, you know, I'm going to become a drug addict.
Yeah, no shit. That's a great point, Mike.
I mean, none of them did.
Yeah.
And we got it, but the only way that we're going to get them off of drugs is when they have said enough. And when they want to quit, that's when the help starts.
Right.
We've got a couple good organizations that are trying to help out.
Right.
Personally, one of the things that I see that goes hand in hand with that is the job and family services.
Yep.
The trouble we're having is the budget keeps growing and growing and growing. But years ago, when mom and dad were strung out on drugs, grandma and grandpa were right there. They took over the kids.
Yeah.
And the kids got a really good home. They didn't go in a system. We didn't have to pay for most of that. Grandma and grandpa funded most of it. And we're not seeing that now. And that's statewide, countrywide actually. There's 2 and 3, 4 generations on narcotics or illegal drugs or alcohol.
Yeah.
And so now we're caught in a position of what do we do?
Right.
Now we can keep putting the kids in foster care, and believe me, some of the foster care parents that I've known about over the years, I guarantee you they're in heaven 10 minutes before God, before Satan knew they were missing. Okay,
Yeah,
I guarantee. I'll guarantee that. But there's also some of them that do it only for the money.
Yeah.
And you can see how those kids come out as well. So my thought on it is if we take and start looking into an extended rehab program where, say, mom's got 2 or 3 kids.
Right.
Okay, we can set her up and keep the kids with her so she can actually grow and learn to become a mom while we're teaching her and the kids how to stay off the drugs.
Right.
Now, is it going to be more expensive? Maybe initially it might cost us more, but I think we can save a whole lot of kids out there. And if we do it the right way, those kids, I guarantee you, will never want to go to drugs when they see what their mom or their dad went through.
I appreciate much of what you said there. I wouldn't want to argue with any of it. I would, and I hope that as commissioner you will make a commitment to put more time in understanding that JFS system and look for ways to get more out of the money, the resources we have.
I think that's a given. I really do.
Well, good, because because it's a complicated system, and while I don't want to use your time, our time to take shots at the commissioners, I retired once upon a time because I didn't believe, they didn't believe in me much anymore either, but I didn't believe that they were committed to that part of our county sufficiently, and I'm not seeing anything since 2011 that's changed that.
Right.
So it has to be, it's the largest budget the commissioners deal with, but it's been delegated to the directors, and so if you get elected, I hope the time is spent to look at how the system operates and ways in which we can. My big thing was that all we did was create dependency. It's all we do is create dependency with the welfare system and create some opportunity for people who find themselves, less productive or whatever. So, the fact that it's like the JFS isn't a pain in the neck, it's something that affects thousands of people in the county is really positive to hear that.
I think Job and Family Services, I think actually that there is ways we can change it, we can make it better.
Yeah.
But I do think that a lot of the answers of how to make it better are going to come from private citizens again. I mean, sure, I've got a couple ideas. I know you probably do too, and I'll be talking to other people that have a lot of good ideas as well.
Right.
And that's wonderful. I mean, good heavens, if you think about 3 people trying to take and even just straighten that up, I mean, that's going to be trying to move an anthill with a ant.
Well, this will get the commissioner's attention, and I hope it does. The office needs to be attentive to the needs of the sheriff's department law enforcement and the courts,
Absolutely.
but it needs to be balanced,
Well,
in my view. And some more time spent on the JFS side,
mm-hmm.
working with those sorts of solutions versus the criminal enforcement and for instance, a linkage between the probation officers and the employment centers at the welfare office or JFS.
Mm-hmm. Well,
So I see them working in opposite directions, and I hope the commissioners can help unify that. To having the enforcement and having the quick story, I won't eat up too much time. As people started to come out under the loophole regime where people were being sent away and doing time and then coming back, there was an expectation that as people were released from the from the penal system, criminal justice system, that somehow the employment or the employers could just be able to work with and receive those people. It's not true, and I think it takes some more work. That the employment agencies and the efforts of JFS to reintegrate people need to be coordinated with the probation and the working with the monitoring. Maybe it's this, I'll probably get yelled at over this, but that's okay. The probation officers' best friend should be the people who are working to place people in jobs. Mm-hmm. And that their non-compliance, that's part of it. I love the stuff. Here I go talking too much. But a couple times a month, they have all the people who are on community control. In a random way, they get called in. Mm-hmm. That's kind of difficult. You see people piling out of the car, going into the PD to get drug tested. And like a lot of times that doesn't go very well. And then you see in the media what happens to those people. Somehow we've got to figure out how to tie employment back to that reintegration. So anyways, we're off. I mean, you talk about the topics that are the most difficult to solve, and here we're sitting here on a Monday trying to solve them. I think there a lot of effort has to be put in, but there are solvable things that can be addressed in the commissioner's office.
Even if we can't do the whole thing at once.
Yeah.
I mean, no, we're probably not going to be able to take and address the whole issue.
Right.
But the longest journey in the world starts out with the first step.
Yeah, that's true too.
And so all we have to do is, and if we get people that care,
right,
people that aren't the ones that just sit there and they jump up and down to ban things, mm-hmm. and we've seen them all at meetings, right? Mm-hmm. 2 weeks later, he folds back in the woodwork. You haven't seen him again.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's fine. I mean, he had to get it out off his chest.
Right.
But what we need is people to say, okay, fine. Well, that worked out fine. Let's try this. Let's do that. Commissioners, there's 3 of us, mm-hmm. so we kind of keep kind of a balanced, mm-hmm. balanced perspective. I do really believe that, like family services, mm-hmm. coming back into the job part of it.
Right.
There again, there are certain businesses that actually go out there, and that's what they want to hire is former prison
recovery,
labor.
Yep.
Because they found their own program that works. We need to seek those people out.
Sure.
I mean, this is kind of a situation where we have to be involved. We have to work at it. It's like I said, since World War II, things kind of slid the other way for a long time. Now it's time start building back up.
So to summarize, I don't mean to lead us both down to a rabbit hole. The most difficult thing in our community to resolve, this multiple generational dependence on alcohol and drugs to get through the day. So it's super important, but it's difficult to resolve. So we'll just hit pause and switch as we try to wind up. So as voters get ready to vote here sooner than usual in March this year on St. Patrick's Day, what 1 or 2 things should they remember about Mike, and what difference you would want to make in the commissioner's office?
Well, the 2 things I hope people will remember about me, and mm-hmm. people that know me already know that: compassion. Mm-hmm. I mean, you've got to be hard, but there's a time not to be hard. There's a time to take, instead of hitting the guy with a stick, you grab a hold of his hand and help him back up.
Yeah.
It's got to, it can be either way. The other thing is the fact I care about people. I care about Crawford County. They talked one time about it was a steamship captain up on Lake Erie, and in about, I think it was 1908 or something, there was what they called an actually inland hurricane, and they lost about 8 or 10 big cargo ships, all ore freighters.
Yeah.
And this one freighter was going out onto the lake, and he had a pilot taking him up through the rapids and stuff. And he looked at the captain. He said, "Captain," he said, "she's not going to make it. She's going to break up on us." And the captain turned around and looked at this pilot, and he smiled, and he said, "Son," he said, "she ain't going to break up on us because she's the only one we got." Crawford County is the only one I got.
That's
and I don't give up, and that's why I run the third time. I mean,
yeah.
It's what can I say? I firmly believe in Crawford County, and whether I'm commissioner or not,
Right.
for the rest of my life, I go with just one premise alone. I'm going to try to make this area better than when I found it when I came into it.
It's really awesome. We've met a couple times.
Yeah, we have.
This is why it's a neat thing to do. I'm going to keep pushing this idea because I think, in the absence of a daily paper, communication in Galleon and any place that loses that daily paper, it just drops off.
Mm-hmm.
And so how you can get more than 2 column inches about you, your age, where you went to school, is really what we're seeking here. And I knew about your long support of Second Amendment issues, reading about your position of not what I would call moderate within the current discussion, not sanctuary counties or city. And so that's kind of the impression, the compassionate part, the sincerity with which when we were talking about the JFS stuff, the employment stuff, man, that came through loud and clear. So once again, I'm convinced this is a good thing to do because my impression about Mike has been changed, transformed, and this stuff about being compassionate and knowing that such a big part of that commissioner's job, because you're dealing with all the people problems, and they're
right.
Like, if they could solve them, they'd solve them themselves. So it's really a challenge to have compassionate programs and compassionate agencies, and that came through loud and clear. And I never would have guessed that. I would have ticked it off as sort of a 2-dimensional Mike Schiefer instead of the depth that I think will come through as people watch this. So I gotta say, that's super important in the job, and it's made this a valuable half hour. So last thoughts, anything that you want to add to that?
Well, what I'd like to say, thank you for putting up with an old farmer just sitting here talking. But
Yeah.
Tom, and you and I have known each other,
Yeah.
and the thing about life is the fact it's kind of an evolving transitional phase from here to here, and as we grow, we change, we kind of soften sometimes,
Yeah.
and we get more inclined to take into account other people's feelings than just our own.
Yeah.
And so the people that know me know that I was hardcore law enforcement, 28 and a half years Bucyrus Auxiliary Police Officer.
Mm-hmm.
But then I've had things happen in my life here just recently that has made me understand more about the drug problem
Yeah.
than what I ever did before. And the one thing my wife told me one time, she said, the one thing that you have wrong about drugs, and I said, "Okay, honey, tell me." I didn't say yes, dear, I probably should have. But the first thing she said was the fact that, they didn't wake up Saturday morning to want to become drug
Oh yeah,
addicts.
that's really true. It's really true.
So all we can do is help everybody we can.
Yeah.
Look out for our brothers, and do the best we can.
Yeah.
And if everybody looks in the mirror tomorrow morning after they went through the day and heard this recording, and they say, that guy's all right.
Mm-hmm.
And if we wake up every morning, each one of us, and say, we're all right, that's a positive step forward.
Yeah, I think
that's all I have.
That's cool. Like what I'm getting is I'm here to help others. This isn't about me.
No, it isn't.
It's about helping others, and that's, I think, a real good measurement of whether a person becomes a successful elected official or not. So you got to be gruff, but I can tell you really care. It has to get to you when there's something like that. So, anyways, I hope this went well for you. I'm looking forward to. It's kind of crazy what will happen on St. Patrick's Day, but it's.
Well, don't forget to wear green.
Yeah, I will. Anyways, hey, I want to thank everyone for watching this and getting to know Mike a little bit better, and we're going to do our best to try to allow candidates for office that watch this live stream to get a feel for it. And Mike Schiefer, everybody, thanks for watching.
Thank you.